Did you grow up believing that love was synonymous with control? That to be loved, you had to give up who you really are? If your parents always knew what was best for you, even when it made you feel suffocated and invisible, I need to tell you something that will change your perspective forever. There's a brutal difference between genuine love and control disguised as care. And if you feel like you can never please your parents, that your achievements are never enough, or that you're constantly apologizing for existing, you might be dealing with narcissistic parents. Dr. Gabor Mate, renowned trauma specialist, always says that our greatest wound doesn't necessarily come from what they did to us, but from what they didn't give us when we needed it most. And often, that emotional neglect comes precisely from those who should have protected us. Today, you're going to discover the 5 phrases that narcissistic parents use to keep you under control, even when you're already an adult. More importantly, you're going to learn how to defend yourself against these manipulations without feeling guilty. If you've ever felt crazy for questioning your parents' love, or if you still feel like a scared child when they talk to you, stay with me. What you're going to discover here might be the key to your emotional freedom. Because no, you're not crazy, you were just taught to normalize the abnormal. Let's start by clarifying something fundamental. Narcissistic parents don't love you the way you need to be loved. They love the version of you that serves their interests. Genuine love celebrates who you are. Narcissistic control molds you to serve the parental ego. It's a difference that might seem subtle, but it's devastating for those who live it firsthand. Loving parents say, "I'm proud of who you've become." Narcissistic parents say, "You make me proud when you act the way I want." Do you see the difference? In the first case, you're seen. In the second, you're used. Dr. Gabor Mate explains that children need 2 basic things: to be seen for who they really are and to feel like they belong. Narcissistic parents do exactly the opposite. They only see you through their needs and make you feel like you only belong when you meet expectations. The result: you grow up thinking that love is conditional, that you need to perform to deserve affection, that your feelings are less important than others. And here's the cruelest part. Narcissistic parents are masters at making you believe that this control is love. "I only want what's best for you. I do this because I love you. One day you'll thank me." Lies. They do it because they need to feel important, powerful, in control. Did you know that children of narcissists are 3 times more likely to develop anxiety and depression? It's not a coincidence. It's a direct consequence of growing up questioning your own reality. If you're recognizing yourself in these words, take a deep breath. You're not alone in this. Millions of people carry these invisible wounds. And yes, you can heal from these scars. But first, you need to recognize the manipulation patterns that your parents used, and maybe still use, with you. By the way, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I love knowing where the people who are on this journey of self-discovery with me come from, because the 5 phrases I'm about to show you are going to help you identify when love is actually disguised control. "I only want what's best for you" is perhaps the cruelest phrase a narcissistic parent can say. It sounds like care, but it's pure control. When your parents say this, they're not thinking about what's genuinely good for you. They're thinking about what makes them feel secure, in control, important. Practical example: you get an incredible job in another city. A loving parent would say, "I'm happy about your achievement. How can I support you in this move?" A narcissistic parent says, "But is it really a good idea? Are you sure? I'm just thinking about what's best for you. What if it goes wrong? Do you see what happens?" They plant doubts about your decision-making ability. They make you question your own choices. And it's all disguised as care. The painful truth is that narcissistic parents can't separate their well-being from yours. In their distorted minds, what's good for them is automatically good for you too. Dr. Gabor Mate always talks about how intergenerational traumas perpetuate themselves. Your parents probably learned this pattern from their parents. This doesn't excuse the behavior, but it explains it. The problem is that when you hear, "I only want what's best for you," repeatedly during childhood, you internalize a terrible message. I don't know what's good for me. I need someone to decide for me. Result? You become an adult who constantly doubts their own decisions, who seeks external approval, who has difficulty trusting their own instincts. And here's the most sadistic part. When you finally make a decision on your own and it works out, they never admit they were wrong. If it goes wrong, you'll hear, "Didn't I warn you?" for the rest of your life. How to defend yourself. Simple. The next time you hear, "I only want what's best for you," respond, "Thank you for your concern, but I trust my ability to decide what's best for me." Will they call you ungrateful? Probably. Will they say you've changed? Definitely. Will they try to make you feel guilty? Without a doubt. But here's the secret. You don't need their approval to live your life. You never did. You were just taught to believe you did. And this isn't even the worst phrase they use. This phrase is a destructive emotional weapon. It's the desperate attempt to collect on a debt you never asked to have. "After everything I've done for you," transforms love into a transaction. It transforms parental care, which should be unconditional, into a bill that can never be paid. Narcissistic parents use this phrase when they feel like they're losing control over you. It's their last card up their sleeve. The emotional desperation button. The subliminal message is clear. You owe me eternal obedience because I fulfilled my basic role as a father or mother. But here's the truth nobody tells you. You didn't choose to be born. You didn't ask to be raised. The care you received was their obligation, not a favor. Dr. Gabor Mate teaches that emotionally mature parents never charge their children for what they did for them, because they know that giving love, care, and protection is parental responsibility, not an investment expecting returns. The cruel thing is that this phrase always comes at the moment when you most need emotional support. You're trying to establish boundaries, make your own choices, and then you hear, "After everything I've done for you, is this how you treat me?" This makes you feel like you're an ungrateful monster, doesn't it? Like your needs are pure selfishness. The truth is that narcissistic parents keep track of every gesture of care because for them, everything is about them. They can't give without expecting something in return. They can't love without conditioning that love. And do you know what the result of this constant billing is? You grow up thinking you're a burden in people's lives, that you need to bend over backwards to deserve the love you receive, that you never did enough for those who raised you. Children of narcissists carry inexplicable guilt their whole lives. They feel permanently indebted to people who chose to have children. How to respond to this manipulation? I'm grateful for the care I received, but that doesn't obligate me to give up who I am to please you. Will it hurt them? Yes. Will they try to manipulate you even more? Definitely. But you need to understand something fundamental. Gratitude is not synonymous with submission, and the next phrase I'm going to show you is even crueler because it attacks your perception of reality. You're exaggerating is the attempt to invalidate your emotional experience. It's saying that what you feel doesn't matter, isn't real, isn't valid. This phrase is especially destructive because it attacks your confidence in your own perception. It makes you question whether what you felt really happened the way you remember. Narcissistic parents are masters at this. When you confront their abusive behavior, they don't deny it directly. They simply minimize it. You're being dramatic. It wasn't like that at all. You're exaggerating like always. The result? You start doubting your own memory, your own emotions, your own sanity. Dr. Gabor Mate explains that this is a form of familial gaslighting. It's making you question your reality to maintain control over you. And here's the most perverse part. They do this precisely with the situations that hurt you most. That moment that was engraved in your mind is especially painful. "Oh, you're exaggerating. It wasn't like that at all." Imagine the impact of growing up hearing that your emotions are always exaggeration, that your pain is always drama, that your perception of reality is always distorted. You learn not to trust yourself. You learn that your feelings are inconvenient. You learn that it's better to swallow everything and pretend you're okay. And then you become an adult who apologizes for feeling, who minimizes their own pain, who accepts abusive behaviors because they learned that they're exaggerating when they get bothered. Children of narcissists develop an abnormal tolerance for disrespect because they were taught that reacting to disrespect is exaggeration. The truth is that you were never exaggerating. You were reacting normally to abnormal behaviors. You were feeling pain because you were really being hurt. Your feelings were always valid. Your perceptions were always important. Your emotional experience was always real. How to defend yourself against this invalidation? I trust what I felt and what I experienced. My experience is valid regardless of your opinion about it. Will they call you stubborn? Yes. Will they say you don't accept criticism? Probably, but you can no longer allow them to invalidate your emotional reality. Because the next phrase I'm going to show you is used to keep you eternally dependent on them. This is perhaps the cruelest manipulation that exists. It's planting terror in your heart about the future. It's making you believe that without them, you'll be condemned to eternal loneliness. "No one will love you like I love you" is a lie wrapped in fear. It's saying, "You're so flawed, so problematic that only I can stand you." Narcissistic parents say this when they feel you're emotionally distancing yourself, when you start questioning the family dynamics, when you show signs of independence. The subliminal message is terrifying. You need me because no one else will want you. And it works, doesn't it? How many times have you sabotaged yourself in relationships because a little voice in your head said, "No one will truly love me"? How many times have you run back home because you were afraid of being alone? Dr. Gabor Mate always talks about how the fear of abandonment forms in childhood. When narcissistic parents plant this seed of terror, it grows and dominates your entire adult life. The result is devastating. You become an adult who accepts emotional crumbs, who settles for toxic relationships, who has a terror of loneliness, who prefers to be mistreated rather than be alone. Because that's what you learned. True love doesn't exist. Only temporary tolerance exists, and if you're lucky, someone will tolerate you for the rest of your life. The truth is exactly the opposite. The love of narcissistic parents isn't love, it's possessiveness, it's control, it's unhealthy emotional dependence. Real love frees you, encourages you to be who you are, supports your growth, celebrates when you achieve independence. Narcissistic love traps you, diminishes you, sabotages you, punishes you when you show autonomy. And here's what they never tell you. You deserve to be loved for who you really are, not for the domesticated version they created, not for the performance you execute to keep them happy. Genuine love exists in the world. There are people who will value you, respect you, support you, people who will celebrate your growth instead of sabotaging it. But first, you need to believe you deserve this. You need to stop accepting the emotional crumbs they offered you your whole life. How to respond to this manipulation? I deserve to be loved in a healthy way, and I'll seek relationships that make me grow, not ones that diminish me. And the last phrase I'm going to show you is used to keep you in a constant state of guilt. "You disappoint me" is the phrase that turns a child into an emotional hostage of their own parents. It's the most effective weapon to keep you in a constant state of guilt and anxiety. This phrase isn't about what you did. It's about who you are. It's the difference between "I'm disappointed in your attitude" and "I'm disappointed in you." Narcissistic parents use disappointment as a control tool. They don't establish healthy boundaries or talk about behaviors. They attack your essence. And here's the cruelest part. They use this phrase precisely when you're trying to be authentic. when you express a different opinion, when you show your own personality. The message is clear. You only have value when you meet my expectations. Dr. Gabor Mate explains that children are highly dependent on parental approval to develop a sense of identity. When this approval is conditioned on performance, the child learns that their essence is problematic. The result? You grow up thinking you're intrinsically flawed, that you need to constantly mold yourself to not disappoint people, that your natural personality is inadequate. Children of narcissists become perfectionist adults, not out of love for excellence, but out of terror of disappointing. They live in constant alert, trying to guess what others expect of them. And do you know what's most tragic? You spend your whole life trying not to disappoint people who never gave you unconditional approval. It's impossible to please someone who uses disappointment as a form of control. Emotionally mature parents say, "I don't agree with your choice, but you're my child, and I love you." Narcissistic parents say, "You disappoint me," and make you carry that guilt forever. The truth, nobody told you. You weren't born to live up to the unrealistic expectations of narcissistic parents. You were born to be who you are, with your own qualities, flaws, and peculiarities. Your choices don't need to please anyone but you. Your personality doesn't need approval from those who raised you. Your authenticity is non-negotiable. How to respond to this manipulation? I'm sorry you're disappointed, but I won't give up who I am to please you. Will it be difficult? Very. Will they intensify the manipulation? Definitely. But you need to understand something fundamental. Their disappointment isn't about your flaws. It's about the fact that you're becoming independent. Now that you know the 5 phrases, you need to learn how to defend yourself. Knowing the phrases is just the first step. Now you need to learn how to defend yourself without feeling guilty. And I'm going to teach you techniques that really work. First strategy, label the behavior. When your parents use these phrases, clearly identify what's happening. Interesting, it seems like you're trying to make me feel guilty. Or, I notice you're invalidating my feelings. Will they deny it? Of course. Will they say you're being dramatic? Obviously, it doesn't matter. You're not doing this to convince them. You're doing it to protect yourself. Second strategy, establish clear boundaries. I will no longer accept being treated this way. I won't discuss when you use that tone with me. If you continue disrespecting me, I'll end this conversation. And here's the most important part. Follow through on what you promise. If you said you'd leave the conversation, leave. If you said you won't accept it, don't accept it. Third strategy, use the gray rock technique. Be polite but emotionally distant. Respond with short phrases. I understand. Okay. I'll think about it. Don't over-explain. Don't justify your choices. Dr. Gabor Mate always says that you can't change narcissistic people, but you can change how you react to them. And this change is your salvation. Fourth strategy, seek external support. Talk to friends, therapists, support groups. You need healthy perspectives to counterbalance the distortions you grew up hearing. Children of narcissists often think they're the only ones going through this. They're not. Millions of people share this experience, and finding community is fundamental for healing. Fifth strategy, practice self-compassion. Stop blaming yourself for reacting naturally to abnormal behaviors. Stop apologizing for having basic emotional needs. You're not responsible for your parents' traumas. It's not your obligation to heal their wounds. It's not your job to make them feel important. Your only responsibility is to protect your own mental health. And remember, establishing boundaries with narcissistic parents isn't cruelty. It's survival. You're not abandoning them, you're saving yourself. Will the process be painful? Yes. Will they try to manipulate you even more? Definitely. But for the first time in your life, you'll be in control of your own emotional experience. And that, my friend, is priceless. Let's talk about something nobody tells you, the emotional cost of growing up with narcissistic parents. It's a price you pay every single day, even without realizing it. Children of narcissists develop what we call emotional hypervigilance. You live constantly monitoring the mood of people around you, trying to guess what they want to hear, avoiding conflicts at all costs. This mentally exhausts you. It's like having a full-time job that never gives you time off, the job of pleasing everyone. Dr. Gabor Mate explains that trauma isn't just what happened to you, but also what didn't happen. And what didn't happen was you receiving unconditional love. You receiving validation for being who you are. You feeling safe to express your emotions. The result? You become an adult who doesn't trust their own instincts, who blames themselves for everything that goes wrong, who has difficulty saying no, who attracts toxic relationships because this pattern seems familiar. But here's the good news. You can heal. It's not easy, it's not fast, but it's possible. Healing begins with recognition. You need to name what you experienced. Validate your own experience. Stop minimizing the impact all of this had on your life. Then comes the work of reparenting. You need to learn to be the father or mother you never had to yourself. Be gentle with your mistakes. Celebrate your achievements. Protect your emotional needs. Therapy is fundamental in this process. A good therapist will help you process traumas, establish healthy boundaries, and develop authentic relationships. And remember, healing from narcissistic parents doesn't mean hating them. It means stopping sacrificing yourself for them. It means choosing your mental health above the need to please. You're not responsible for your parents' emotional problems. You never were. That responsibility was placed on your shoulders when you were too small to question it. Now you can choose to let go of that weight. You can choose to live for yourself. You can choose relationships that nourish you instead of draining you. Healing is possible. Emotional freedom is possible. An authentic life is possible. But first, you need to stop normalizing the abnormal. We've reached the end of this journey, but actually, your real journey is just beginning. Because knowledge without action is just information, and you deserve more than information. You deserve transformation. Look at where you've arrived. You've recognized patterns that maybe you had never identified before. You understood that you're not crazy for feeling suffocated by parents who say they love you. You discovered that your reactions are normal in the face of abnormal behaviors. That's already a giant step. Now you have a choice. Continue living by the patterns you learned in childhood, or start writing your own story. Continue being an emotional hostage of your parents, or free yourself to live your authentic life. It won't be easy. Narcissistic parents don't easily give up the control they exercise. When you start establishing boundaries, they'll intensify the manipulations. They'll make you feel guilty. They'll say you've changed, that you're being influenced by third parties. All of this is normal. It's part of the process. But always remember, you can't control their reactions, but you can control your own responses. You can't change them, but you can change how you relate to them. Dr. Gabor Mate always says that healing doesn't happen in isolation. You need community, support, people who validate your experience. Seek therapy. Find support groups, build healthy relationships. Your life doesn't have to be a repetition of the patterns you learned in childhood. You can break intergenerational cycles of trauma. You can be the first in your family to choose emotional health. And if you ever have children, you can give them what you never received: unconditional love, genuine validation, emotional security. You can raise a generation free from the narcissistic patterns that imprisoned you. Your emotional freedom isn't selfishness. It's necessity. It's a right. It's the first step toward a full and authentic life. Start today. Start now. Your inner child deserves this protection. Your adult self deserves this freedom. And remember, you were always worthy of genuine love. You were always worthy of respect. You were always worthy of being seen for who you really are. Now it's time to believe it.